What is going on, IF Warriors? So in this video, we're going to talk about if intermittent fasting isn't working, if it doesn't work. When people yell, it doesn't work, it's not working for me, and reasons why it could be a little bit more difficult for you because of metabolic flexibility. This video is actually going to talk about different ways that you can enhance metabolic flexibility. And let's take a look at it and see where they're correct and where they're wrong, right? Let's take a look at it.
You're frustrated because you've been doing intermittent fasting, but it hasn't been working for you, then please pay attention. You see, the majority of Americans today are either overweight or obese, which means they are most likely insulin resistant or metabolically inflexible. Therefore, your body can only burn sugar.
Now, just to explain, insulin resistant means that, well, when you're insulin sensitive, that means you can move glucose throughout your blood much more efficiently. When you're insulin resistant, that means your body's resistant to the glucose, and you don't move it as efficiently. You don't actually move the sugar in your blood efficiently and to utilize as energy. So you want to be insulin sensitive, because the more insulin sensitive you are, the more you can tap into energies like body fat to provide you energy. So that switch is really important. It's always been important for intermittent fasting to try to switch over from being insulin resistant to insulin sensitive. And the more insulin resistant you become, if it's chronic, you could actually start to develop things like type 2 diabetes. So that's super important. Metabolic flexibility, however, that's just the flexibility in which how quickly you can switch over from burning body fat to burning food, from burning food to burning body fat and back, right? So you just metabolically flexible. You're able to tap into body fat sources much quicker when other sources are being depleted. But let's continue.
Sugar is fuel and not fat. So how do we become more metabolically flexible and insulin sensitive?
MCT oil or powder. You want to eat more protein because you can take that protein and break it down into glucose without affecting your muscle mass. Now,
keep in mind, when he's saying this, he's referring to consistently eating. There's a difference between breaking down protein when you're consistently eating as for glucose through the process of glucose neogenesis, which is basically using any non-carbohydrate substrate, for energy, because your brain needs to have glucose. When you're fasting is a different story. You're depleting all of those sources. The amino acids have already been used for muscle building, for muscle resistance, for muscle fueling, and for skin repair, and all the different things. Protein is used for a lot of things, which is why it's one of the highest stomach effect. The foods, it is the highest macronutrient with the highest. It's the macronutrient with the highest stomach effect when you eat it, because it involves so many different elements when you consume it. But he's talking about consistent eating. So don't get that confused, because when you're fasting, you're going to get to a point where you don't have anything else. Your glycogen that's being stored is going to get depleted, because that's what you want to do, so that you could tap into ketones. But once you're just using ketones, if you're not refilling your body with food, at a certain point, the process of glucose neogenesis is still going to happen, and that's going to be tackling your actual muscle tissue that's on your body. So you want to make sure that you are aware of this. And I've always put the link down in the description box below for the lumen, because if you breathe into it, the lumen tells you if you're burning fat or if you're burning carbohydrates. And if you're in a fast and you've been burning fat, and then all of a sudden on hour 27 or 25 you breathe into it and you're burning carbohydrates, that means your body went through that process of glucose neogenesis, which is you're above your peak, your sweet spot. You're now breaking down muscle, and that doesn't help for weight loss overall. But I just wanted to clear that up, because a lot of people are going to think that he's talking about this gentleman right here is talking about fasting, but he's just talking about how to increase metabolic flexibility overall. And he's not talking about doing it while fasting. He's just talking about doing it, period, and the things that you can consume to do that.
Muscle strength training is actually
That's
one of the
important.
best ways to increase your metabolically flexible mitochondria.
Yeah.
The more muscle mass you make by strength training, the lower your insulin levels go. Hot therapy.
All of that stuff couples together to help you lose weight. That's why I always tell you guys, even though I know people are just like hard line on the right now, this calorie, the most calorie in this session, but they don't understand the power of building muscle, of retaining muscle. And you don't have to be this super massive, brolic person. Just if you went from basically no strength training at all to some strength training, that's already better than when you were here. If you do more consistent strength training over time, that's better than when you were here. A little bit of muscle is better than no muscle at all or very little muscle. A little bit more is better than that. So trust me, don't think that, I never work out, so it's just going to be too difficult for me. No, it's still important. If you work out even a little bit more than you've ever done, you're going to start to reap the benefits of those things. So 100% do that. And it helps even with body recomposition to make sure that you lose body fat while still building muscle. It's an overall good system. More protein and resistance training, all of that stuff helps you with weight loss. It's not just the current calorie number that's coming off of you right now with this very second. It's also things that you're setting up so that you could make everything much more easier, especially down the line, a week later, a month later, you make things a little bit easier for you.
Therapy like a sauna builds flexibility. Cold therapy like taking a cold shower, or just
that's
even
for the
15,
uncoupling
30-second blast of cold after your shower,
because it helps
activate mitochondrial uncoupling.
Yeah.
Polyphenols. The more polyphenols you get in your diet, the more metabolically flexible you become. And there's a lot of foods that have MCT oil, like goat and sheep cheeses and goat and sheep yogurts. So all of these tricks will get you metabolically flexible.
Follow me now to learn more about how to increase metabolic.
All right. So this was a pretty good video. It was pretty short. But the gentleman, I don't know who the person is. I just saw this video pop up and I thought, hey, let me share it with my audience, because it's one of those things where sometimes this does happen, right? Things don't work, or things don't go the way someone thinks it's going to go, and then they just throw their hands up without knowing exactly what's going on. I wouldn't say that, if you're doing something and something else works better for you, do that thing. Even if it's not intermittent fasting and it's something else, whatever it is, you should always do the thing that works best for you and the thing that you could do for the rest of your life, because that's the most important thing, since weight regain is actually the problem that we have. It's not actually weight loss. People lose weight all the time. Even people that you would think they can't lose weight, they lose it all the time, but they just also regain it and then some sometimes. So it's weight regain that's the problem, which is why choosing the thing that you could do forever is actually the best strategy. It's not just the weight loss in a vacuum. You also want to make sure that you can always do it nonstop. But one thing that's important about this is that he's talking about situations where people become metabolically inflexible, right? People don't have that ability to switch over to just quickly start burning body fat. Some people, they can switch over from you being in that post-absorptive range to just immediately within 8 hours start burning body fat for fuel, while others, sometimes they take 12 hours, sometimes they take 14 hours, simply because they're more metabolically inflexible. But here's another cool thing. Believe it or not, you may not even have to do all these things he said. If you continue to do intermittent fasting, you actually become more metabolically flexible just from doing intermittent fasting. Believe it or not, yes. You could just, because you're constantly having your body switch over, it actually starts to be effective at switching over because you're consistently doing it. It then starts to switch over much quicker than it did when you first started. So actually being consistent with your intermittent fasting protocol will 100% help you do this without having to do all of those things that he mentioned. But it's still a cool understanding of how the body works with all these different things that you could apply to it to change the biology a little bit to help you with weight loss. So hopefully this video has helped you guys. And of course, as always, we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.